Welcome to Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Being a fireman, father, veteran, husband, world record holder, and Ironman, he brings stories of experience to impact your life while challenging you to live it. What do you want from your life? Why do you want it? Are you willing to go through the challenges to get there? If you have the courage to take that first step, let this podcast be the catalyst to start your fire while you bring the resilience to make it continue to burn. Our lives are made up of moments called right nows. So let's get started. Forged in the Fires podcast with your host, Fireman Rob, begins now.
All right, welcome back to the Forged in the Fires podcast. I'm your host, Rob Verhouse, better known as Fireman Rob. Again, the Forged in the Fires podcast is about inspiring and motivating individuals, while at the same time giving them great stories like the gentleman that I'm about to introduce to you. Our guest is Don Soranno. He's out of Washington, D.C. And Don, it's great to have you on the program.
Thank you, Rob. Great to be here and with your crew.
Yeah, so Don, I'll give you a background of Don. I've known Don for a little while here, but Don is an amazing individual. He worked for the United States ATF, that's Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, for 26 years. 26 years. He was a special agent. He had the largest civil reimbursement to a state for tax diversion. Hopefully that wasn't me that did that. Also, I mean, you've done an amazing things. The excellence in your collaboration in the ATF got you to a position as Chief of National Explosives Task Force. That's amazing, Don. Can you tell us a little bit more about your time with the ATF?
Absolutely. Yeah, I spent 26 years with ATF and had an amazing career. I was born and raised in Detroit, so I started off as a street special agent there doing criminal investigations against drug gangs, against firearms traffickers, and throughout my career, I just always wanted to do better and do more. And I basically worked my way up the ladder and, became chief of our firearms operations division. I was the deputy director down at FBI for the Terrorist Explosive Device Analytical Center, had numerous explosives related background investigations. I worked on the National Explosives Task Force at the FBI. And then I finished up my career as the special agent in charge out of the Columbus, Ohio office. So had a little bit of everything, firearms cases, explosive cases, arson cases, but the biggest thing was just doing what we can to take bad people off the street and make communities safer.
It's amazing. And then one of the big things that stood out to me was you were the first federal agent selected to participate in the leadership fellow at the FBI National Academy. What was that like?
It was pretty cool. It was the highlight of my career. It all started, FBI puts on what's called a National Academy. It's an 11-week leadership training academy for mid to high level executives of law enforcement agencies to come down to Quantico. You pick either graduate or undergraduate level classes for 11 weeks, and there's about 200 to 250 students in the class. So I'm taking several leadership classes, and I was actually approached by one of the instructors and says, hey, we've got this fellowship program to come here and teach leadership. Is this something you would be interested in? And of course I said, absolutely. And then I heard what it involved. I'm like, man, there's no way ATF is going to let me basically for 6 months be assigned to the FBI at the National Academy to teach.
You guys work well together?
Yes, we did. Yeah. There was, there's always been that little bit of ATF, FBI, brotherly, competition, but I didn't think that they would let me step away because at that point I was, mid-level manager at ATF headquarters, that they were going to let me step away and do it. But, I politicked well and I was able to do it. And I spent 6 months down in Quantico at the FBI National Academy and taught 3 different classes, 3 11-week classes down there for state, local, and international law enforcement officers on leadership, and just met an amazing group of individuals from all over the world, and still in touch with several of those. And, it's sort of like a fraternity, even though I was never part of one in college. If I need something anywhere in the world, I can go through this list, find somebody I went through school with, call them up, and they're like, okay, what do you need? So it's just that network and just the great people who all have the same mindset.
The crazy thing to me is, we think about from our personal side, understanding the amount of stress that people have on a daily basis, like, for me, like getting the dishes done or things like that. But teaching leadership to individuals who have probably some of the greatest responsibilities our world sees. I mean, protecting our freedoms, making sure that everything that we have is solid. I mean, that type of leadership. What are some of the little intangibles that you think that people can take away from that level of leadership that you have to have at the FBI, at the ATF to constantly be on target, can take away and put into their lives?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, I know it's a little bit of a cliche, but leadership is not a title. It doesn't matter if you're a group supervisor overseeing 15 special agents, if you're a sergeant at a police department or a lieutenant at a police department, or you're a captain at a fire department, or you're the, project manager or product manager at Motorola or any company in working with people, the title doesn't make you a leader. Some of the best leaders out there are your entry level individuals that are rallying the troops, setting a good example for everybody. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I really tried to point out to people is just because you're a sergeant, you need to take that idea of, okay, I'm a leader, I'm a mentor, and other people are going to look to you, but you're not going to have all the
That's
answers.
such a great point, Don.
And somebody that, I learned a lot from people who were, two ranks below me and took their ideas and said, okay, I'm not going to run with this. You run with it. You'll get up here in front and tell everybody your idea. And I think a lot of times people are afraid of the leadership role. They want the managerial role that, okay, I'm the boss. I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to make assignments. I'm going to sign off on these paperwork and, I'll make some decisions, but it's more than that. It's sitting side by side with that person and talking with them about, hey, what's going on at home? How's your work-life balance? And I think especially in the fire service and in law enforcement, unfortunately, a lot of times the work-life balance is not equal. It's askew, and that can have a, tough effect on people. But I think it's important to, check yourself at times and look at, who do I have around me that can help me do what I do?
It's so true. It's so true. It's that leadership in your own life. And, you hit it on the head of, you have to, if you are a leader of individuals, that you have to make sure that you have those individuals feel also that they're leading their own job, their own lives. And that's so important. And then that kind of leads me into you, Don, of, I always ask all of my guests kind of the catalysts that we have. What are some of those that resonate with you? And you're speaking to that point of faith over fear, the faith in yourself over the fear of somebody else's judgment or that you're going to fall on your face.
Absolutely. And I think that, there's several things that I can tie into that. It's both on the personal side, but also on the, the work side as well. Getting over that fear of, okay, now you're in the leader's seat. Now what? The biggest thing I always try to tell the individual is you're not going to have all the answers, and you're going to make mistakes. And I remember when I was applying for different jobs, and that's one thing I'd always say is that, hey, if you're looking for somebody to come in here that is never going to make a wrong decision, is going to never make a mistake, then you're not going to find it. I am absolutely going to make mistakes, but you can't be fearful of those. You got to learn from them. Hopefully, in our line of work, it wasn't catastrophic. Nobody lost their lives, which, knock on wood, it hasn't in anything that I've done. But you got to get over that fear of, hey, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do my best every day. I'm going to believe in myself. And the biggest thing is, you can't let that fear empower you. And even after 26 years at ATF, and now, 3 years post ATF in a couple of different positions, you still have that. You still got to go over that. Oh man, am I doing the right thing? You got those gremlins in the back of your head talking to you, and you got to be able to like shut those down
That's
pretty
so true.
quickly.
And being a special agent, when you started off, I mean, that kind of fear is real. It's not just a mental fear, but it's also a
Absolutely.
physical fear of, and almost impending doom. And I think a lot of people are so paralyzed by that in their own lives. And can
Well,
you speak to just how did you get over that in the beginning? Because you've been in the 26 years, and after 26 years, you've really kind of honed your skills. But in the beginning, it had to be something that you told yourself, or you were taught that helped you to get over that fear. What was that?
it was more of, yeah, it was scary at times. I mean, when I came on the job, I was 21 years old, but I like to say my career in law enforcement started when I was 16 or 17. I had several, growing up in the Detroit area, I had several uncles who were Detroit police officers. And at that time, I could actually sign a waiver and do ride
Wow.
alongs with them. So I would go down and, yeah, uh, my uncle Sam, he worked in the ninth precinct in Detroit. It was a pretty bad area. He was in an unmarked car. They basically didn't get calls. They basically responded only to shots fired or armed robberies
Wow.
in progress. So they showed up and backed up other officers, and I got to ride along with him umpteen times, him and his partner Carrie. And at 17, 18 years old, and they're in a car chase, and I'm in the back seat, and they bail out of the car to chase somebody on foot, and they tell me to stay in the car. And I'm like, I'm not going to stay in the car. So I'd get out and I'd be
Did you
running with
did you
them.
beat
And
them
I
in
mean,
the
it
run
was
race?
good and bad things. At that point, no. But, I learned a great deal. And yeah, you do have fear coming on the job with ATF. You know, first time we're going out and doing a search warrant. I mean, I can remember I felt like I was going to get sick. And I'm like, man, am I cut for this? But it's just that the adrenaline and the nerves, because you don't know what's happened. We were
Right.
going after the worst of the worst. We're going after people who have guns, who have bombs, who are, you know, known shooters, 3, 4, 5-time convicted felons. We knew the person on the other
Right.
side of the door had a gun. That's why we were there. So you had to have your wits about you. The biggest thing is believe in your partner who's standing right in front of you, behind you. We would train a lot. And over time, you developed, this kinship with them. You knew what was going to happen. I worked a lot with a good buddy, George, back in Detroit, and we would, get to the point we knew what each other was going to do and think. And it also gets to the point that, you'll hear people talk about
Right.
the John Wayne syndrome. You always got to have that fear. If there ever came a point in time that I was getting ready to do a search warrant or arrest warrant or a buy bust operation, and I didn't have this little pit in my stomach with the nerves, something's wrong. Because if you're not on your edge, if you've lost that, then you're a danger to yourself, but actually more importantly to
That's
everybody
so
else
true.
that
That's
you're
so
out there
true. It's
working with.
having that healthy fear, and the same thing in the fire service is, people ask, after being in it for 20 years, are you scared of going into fires? It's like, yeah, because it's a dynamic situation, right? It's a dynamic
Absolutely.
situation that you don't know what the outcome is. You just have the faith in yourself and in
Right,
your skills that whatever's going to come my way, I know that I'm going to do my best and I'm going to figure out a way to make it work.
right. Absolutely. And you learn, you talk about learning from mistakes and you know what to go on. I don't know if I think I may have told you the story or not, but we're doing a search warrant in Detroit. I think I was on the job 6 months, and we had a search warrant for a house. We had an informant call in. We knew the bad guy was there. Uh, 30 seconds later, we're hitting the door, big 3-story house. We hit it, we search it, guy's not there. We're like, what the heck? We knew he was just here. We're like, okay, maybe he got out the back door. We didn't see him. So like, okay, now it's time to do this, start searching. So me and George, we're the new guys. Like I said, we're on less than 6 months. So they send us upstairs to the third floor, middle of August, freaking hot. I mean, we're just sweating our butts off out there.
Oh, you're good, man.
I'll keep
You're
my
good.
language on the PG. So we're sweating like crazy up there. And first mistake I made, I took my bulletproof vest off because I was just sweating. So I go to this closet, open it up, and I'm looking in there, and there's some shoe boxes up on the top. And we're looking for drugs, we're looking for guns. We knew the guy was a convicted felon. He had a couple of handguns that he's not allowed to possess. He was also selling drugs. So we're looking for any of that stuff, but also mail or documents to show that he lived there. So I'm searching in the closet, find some stuff, pull it down, going through the clothes. It's like a half walk-in type closet. On the floor, there's a pile of clothes, and I looked through them a little bit, but
Yeah.
didn't go through every pocket. And turn around, and I swear to this day, it still gives me goosebumps. A voice in my head said, "Don, check the closet
Oh
again,"
God.
and I just froze. I'm like, "Huh?" I turn around and draw my gun, draw my flashlight, and I look inside. In the corner, which I couldn't see, to the left, there was a little cutout in the wall. I'm like, what the heck? So I look in there and I see like an old milk crate, and there's some food and candle. And I look some more as I'm
Oh,
trying
geez.
to come around the corner, and I see a hand. I'm thinking, oh
Oh,
God, I got a dead body up here, until the hand starts to move. And then I'm like, holy shit. So I basically take my gun and move it to where, okay, here's the hand, here's where the rest of the body is. And I'm yelling at the person, don't move, don't move. And
yeah.
I'm starting to squeeze the trigger. And I can actually see the hammer coming back. And I yell to my partner, I'm like, George, I got a body in here. He's like, yeah, right. I'm like, I got a body up here. And I can actually see the hammer coming back. And I'm like, screw this, step out of the closet, uh, start yelling at the guy. He won't come out. No response. Get a couple other guys up there. Finally, get the individual
Wow.
out. Was the person we were looking for. And he said when I was in the closet going through the stuff, uh, he actually had a gun. And when you looked inside, there
Right
was a
next to him.
handgun there. He said that he actually had
Oh,
the gun
jeez.
up against the yes, yep, gun lying next to him. He said he had the gun up against the drywall, and he was ready to shoot me, but he knew there was somebody else up there, and he'd have to jump out
Oh, jeez.
get past that person and jump out the third floor, and he probably wouldn't make it. He'd break his legs. So uh, somebody was watching over me that day, and I learned a big lesson. Never freaking take my bulletproof
Yeah.
vest off after that time. I don't care how hot it was. You know, luckily you learn from your mistakes,
Be
and it wasn't
calm in that
bad. But
circumstance. That was amazing, Don.
it
I mean,
was one of those
that's that
instances, and
stuff that, and that's kind of why I love doing this podcast, is because to give those perspectives from individuals. And a lot of people may say, well, I'm never going to go in on a search and seizure, but to take the perspective of you stepped back from that situation, still had control of it nonetheless, but you stepped back from that situation and
hmm
made that decision. And I think it's such a huge thing for everybody's life, is saying, you know what, you're gonna be put into these situations that are so stressful. I can't even imagine that situation that you were in, but that are so stressful, but you can still get through it by just using your head.
right, absolutely. And it's we always talk about I'm sure it's drilled into you guys in the fire service and law enforcement. Even in the military, when stuff goes bad, you revert to how you're trained. You revert to your training. You go through a checklist. Here's what I need to do. And that's just the thing. It's like
And it's a
you don't
quick
need to
mental
put yourself out there
checklist.
if you don't have to. And I realized, yep, absolutely. And I realized, nope, something just doesn't feel right. One, I had that voice in my head, and then it's like, you know what, I'm gonna step out. I don't need to be crawling through this hole. I'm gonna back out and get help, because help is there. And I think one thing that your community and your listeners can take away from all this, that it's not just for those of us in law enforcement or fire service or in the these critically dangerous or critical positions. It's the same thing. If you're a small time business owner or you're a large
Right.
CEO, you've got to make critical decisions every day. If it's, are you going to launch a new product? Are you going to hire a new employee? Are you going to, you know, come out with X? You got to sit back and say, okay, how is this
It's
going to
creating
affect
that
me? How is
the
this going to
mental
affect
checklist
everybody
that you
else?
were talking about.
Um,
And it's that
you got
training.
to,
That's what's interesting is like
yep,
both in your line of work as well as in my line of work, we do a lot of training. And I think, it's interesting in corporate America. They do a lot of training, but it's that little intangible training that you can give individuals. It's not just about the product. It's not just about your ability to sell or your ability to crunch numbers. It's the person that is doing that position that has to have that ability to um, mentally problem solve within situations that they may not know about. And I think that's what you said it perfectly, Don. And that everybody
absolutely.
from parents to, I have teenage kids, from parents to teenage kids to CEOs to, the sales force to law enforcement and police officers and fire department. You have to have that ability to um, have that mental checklist and then go back to it and utilize it in the moment. And I think that's all comes from your
Correct.
reflection.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It's all just, you know, what you've been through, what you've learned, books you've read, people you
And I
talk
love
to. I mean, nobody
your
learns
support
anything
comment because that's
by
that's
themselves.
huge too, is
You
that there's
know,
people out there that want you to succeed and that want to help you to succeed.
absolutely. Yeah. And that's one thing that, I've had good and bad bosses, as everybody has, and I've had good and bad mentors down the line. And just because somebody is a quote unquote bad boss, you learn a lot from them. Okay, this is something I don't want to do. I don't want to be like this. I don't want to treat people like it. You could sit there and stew about, oh, this person's mean to me. He doesn't, he or she is this, that, or the other thing, and just stew on it versus, you know what, I'm going to take this and I'm going to learn from it. What can I do better? But moving forward, how can I
That's so
not
true. And
be
then,
that person?
and then I
And I
look
think
at,
that's important too.
your bio again and go faith over fear. So Don in 2006, Don Soranno, you completed your first Olympic distance triathlon, your first half Ironman, and your first Ironman. But
Yep.
can you tell the listeners
Yep.
what the most interesting fact of this whole thing is?
Is that I just learned to
And let
swim
me
the
just
year
tell the
before that.
listeners that,
Um,
for a full Ironman, that's a 2.4 mile swim with almost 2,000 of your closest friends. And then you have a 1.2 mile swim for the half Ironman. And you didn't even know
Very
how to
close.
swim?
No, I mean, growing up in downtown, I grew up in downtown Detroit till I was, you know, 8 or so. Then I moved out to the suburbs and nobody had a pool. I mean, if they had a pool, it was 3 foot deep, 10 foot round, and you basically jumped in it to cool off. You didn't swim. And, we would go to the lake in the summertime and, go to different areas. But, one of the I call it a sad thing because it affected us is that we as a kid, my dad never learned how to swim because his parents didn't teach him. But then he was out with some buddies and they knew he couldn't
Oh,
swim and
wow.
they were at a lake and they basically threw him in off a dock. And yeah, it basically stunned him, of course. And you're thrown into a lake over your head. You can't swim. They were able to fish him out, but it just traumatized. And then he just never, to this day, he's like 80 some years old. And, there's a pool at their little retirement community and he'll walk in it and he'll wade
Oh, that's
around, but he
crazy.
doesn't like to get in water that's over his head. I think that affected, you know, none of us boys, really learned how to swim. My two other brothers did a little bit because they scuba dived, but growing up, I didn't learn how to swim. So I was doing tri- uh, duathlons,
The duathlons
and they
are
were
for the
becoming few and far
biking and
between, it
running,
seemed,
right?
at that time. There was a big push for them.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, run, bike, run type of thing. There's just not it. Yeah, it's either a run and a bike, or you run, then bike, then run again. Uh, and at that point, they were big, but then they were trailing off. And my wife, she was big into triathlons, and our community was that. And I'm like, you know what? Everybody I know is doing these try things. I guess I
Yeah,
should, for lack of a better term, jump in the deep end. So part of the thing is you got to set yourself a goal. And I
I've
did it. So I
heund of
signed
that
up
one.
for
That one's
Ironman
really
Wisconsin, which is
close to me.
I think you've heard of that one, right?
Yeah, very close.
Yeah, yes. We're pretty close to you. Yes, yes. Great race. Yeah, I've done it a couple of times. So yeah, so I went through a total immersion swimming class, and did a weekend at that. And it was funny, the coach, the guy that was teaching it, it's mostly adults in there, and he wants to know your story. What are you doing? And I said, yeah, hey, I'm doing this because I'm
Yeah,
signed up for
I don't know how
Ironman
to
next year, and this
swim,
is what
but
I'm going to do. And he's like,
I'm thinking
yeah, good
about a
luck with that.
2.4 mile swim in a lake here. It's okay. Good idea, Don.
Well, right. And
That's
the
so true.
and the funny thing, yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, go big or go home, right? Yeah. And I say the funny thing, but it's sort of kind of not. You talk about having that faith over fear and believing yourself. I still have that in the back of my head. I've done 5 iron distance races, and I don't know, umpteen halves and Olympics, but I still have that fear of the water. I still have to calm myself down, and
Right.
I haven't done one without a wetsuit because I need that security blanket, and that's something that which your book is going to help me with. I need to set that up and get over that fear, and I've been trying to do that for years and years and years, and it's just like I've got to cut that tie and say, I can get in a pool and swim 3,000 yards without stopping, but
Right.
you put me in an open lake and I swim 50 yards and I'm freaking out. So I
It,
just got to. I know I can do it. If I just I got to shut my brain off. And I think that's a lot of times that's what people don't do. You let that empower your
that's so
fear.
true.
And I think a lot of
That's
us
so
have
true, and
to
it's
still work
interesting.
on that to
You
some form or
go
fashion.
into buildings where people who really wanted to kill you, and water scares you. So I mean, it's not
Hmm.
funny, but at the same point, it's an interesting fact for
Right.
people to take away. Is that you can be a skydiver, but at the same time, you don't want to go off the high dive at the pool. I mean, there's those fears, and getting over those, it takes that
Right.
mental, in essence, training. You almost say it's training. It's teaching yourself.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely. And I would get into the meditative breathing and meditative state that I'd get there in the swim, and I do my swims in a good time, and once I get going, I'm fine. But it's just that initial of, oh shoot, okay, I'm out here, relax, just let your body take over and shut the mind off. And I think that can be, that may stop a lot of people from going after goals or accomplishments, and I can't run a marathon, or I can't run a 10K, I'm too heavy, or I'm too out of shape. If you just shut that little gremlin off that's in the back of your head and focus on
So
the
true.
goal itself,
Now to this
I think a
day,
lot of
how
us can
many
actually
full
get
Ironmans
and
and half
accomplish
Ironmans
more.
have you done?
Full, I've done 5, and started 6, had to be pulled out of the water at Maryland in 2015, I believe. Yeah, 2015. Uh, Not because of, I
That
couldn't
makes it a
do it. It
little
was
tougher.
basically, that was the year that they had the hurricane come through, and they had to
Oh,
postpone the
jeez.
race. Yeah, but it was actually hypothermia. I made it in one loop of the course, and basically uh, stopped and kept shaking my hands. And the kid's like, "Hey, kid on the board, one of the surf guys, he's like, you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, just my hands are cold." He's like, "Look at me." I'm like, "No, I'm good." He's like, look at me." I looked at him. He's like,
Oh,
"You're
jeez.
done." I'm like, "No, what?" He's like, "You're done." He goes, "Your whole face is blue and white." So they
Wow.
yanked me out, and my body temp was like 95 or 93, I think it was. Yeah, I was in severe hypothermia, and they actually said the race director put out an email, and I saw it the next day saying, "Hey, kudos to the surf team and the lifeguards out there that they pulled an athlete who was in severe hypothermia, and if
Oh, I thought they called you a young kid. I was like, they must
this
have been
young kid," and I said
delirious
young,
too.
he was probably 18 years old. Uh, yeah, yeah, I wish. Yeah, right, exactly. They said, yeah, if they didn't
Wow.
pull this athlete out, it probably would have been a recovery because he wouldn't have made it the second loop. So that made me more gracious to this kid, and
Right.
that has uh, still been a little bit of a fear. I've got it, but I'm going to continue. So I've done 5 full distance, Wisconsin twice, Lake Placid,
That's amazing.
um, Ironman Canada, and Challenge Penticton. And I'm actually going to
That a
here
boy.
this week. I'm going to sign up for Ironman Maryland this year, and got to go back. I've done Ironman since then. I did like Placid in 17.
Some demons to
So
conquer, right?
no, I'm going to go back. I got some unfinished business in Maryland to take care of. Exactly. Halves.
That's amazing.
God, I've probably done 10
That's
halves,
true
10 to
faith
12
over fear.
halves, and
That's you figuring out
untold
yourself
number
and
of
moving
sprints, and
forward. I mean,
done
your
things.
story, Don, is a very inspiring one. It's one of those that thanks for your service, for everything that you've done, and then also at the same point, just in showing people that your
Well,
fears
thank you.
are valid. They're valid, but at the same point, believe in yourself, figure that mental framework out to be able to push forward and find that new level that you can find. I've got a few questions for you. One, what's your favorite quote, John?
Yeah. My
Love it.
favorite quote is it's actually a Buddhist quote. It's right now, it's like this. And to me, it's, if you look it up, it can have several meanings. But for me, it is, whatever you're going through, whatever you're seeing, it's right now. It's not yesterday. It's not tomorrow. It may not be 10 seconds down the road, but it's just right now. It's like this. And it doesn't define you. Whatever you're going through, it's could be majorly important. It could be, serious disease, but, could be having issues at work or with your spouse or whatever. But the thing is, right now, it's like this. And the
Yeah,
thing
that's
that I
true.
really like about this is the word it's.
Personalizing. Yeah.
It's not
Yep.
I'm, because it's the situation. It's not you. Yep. You're not personalizing it. It's the situation. Going to get through it. It's like
That's
this.
such a
So that's
great
something
quote.
that I
That's such a
I
great quote.
really hone
So
in
I
on,
always
and I
end my
really like
podcast. I have
like.
3 questions for you. Then we have a rapid round. Just to kind of give everybody oh yeah, it's not a pass fail, Don. Don't worry about it. So
Uh-oh.
first question for you is, what is one thing you haven't done but is outside your comfort zone? Are you going to do it?
I would say scuba dive. I'd like to. I love to snorkel, but it's just one of those things. Again, it's that fear of the water. I talk to some people like, oh, it's so simple, and then I talk to
All
other
right, we're
friends,
gonna
oh,
hold you to that,
you
Don.
got to
Now
watch your air
this
and
is
your
out
time, and
in
it seems
on
kind
the
of
air now, so we're gonna
complicated
hold you to that.
because air is important.
So
Yeah,
second
so
question, I already asked
I
you your
might,
favorite
yeah,
quote and why. The
yeah.
third question is if you could pick to have coffee with 3 other people at a firehouse table. Now a firehouse table is where everything is open, nothing is off the table. Who would it be and why? They can be deceased or anything.
Wow. Okay, 3 people. I guess I'd say living or dead. Okay. Um, for one, I'll say it'll be 2 combined into one. Uh, the first one will be my grandfathers. I never met them. They both died before I was born. So I'd love to be able to sit with them and just get their experiences and talk with them, since I never had a chance to meet them.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Second person, wow. It is.
Just think you're having coffee at the firehouse table. Nothing's off the table at the firehouse.
The spiritual route.
The best part is this is all like off the cuff because nobody gets these questions ahead of time.
Right, I know. No, I think it would be. Wow, I mean, this is a tough one because it's like I'm overthinking it. I'm thinking, I would love to get one of the Abe Lincolns, the original, and just
right.
What was it like back then, and if they could see what's happening now, and get their take on politics aside. I'm not going to go down that road, but just what they envisioned for where the country was going to go to where we're at now, and then I think for the third one would be one of my
that'd be fun, wouldn't it?
All-time favorite artists. I love the sound of Billy Joel, and I love the piano. He's what as a kid got me. I practiced piano for a little bit, but I love just to sit down and pick his brain.
Coffee and Bailey's.
Talk over coffee or beer about what got him into it.
Oh, I like those. I like those three.
Chat.
I like those three.
That would be great.
All right.
Yeah,
so the last thing
too.
is this is a rapid round. All you got to do is the first thing that comes to mind. I'm going to say two things, and then the first thing that comes to mind, you got to say it. Okay. All right. Here comes the rapid round for Don Soranno. Paper or plastic?
Okay.
Super salad. Super salad.
Paper.
You're going to say yes.
What is that? Oh, super salad. I thought you said super salad. I'm like, what's the super
nice.
salad?
McDonald's or Taco Bell?
Both. Actually, soup. I love soup. I can eat soup in the middle of the night.
Camping or hotel?
Pass.
Camping, fly or drive?
McDonald's.
Sleep late or wake up early?
Oh, I love camping.
Walk
drive.
or run? Partly sunny, partly cloudy.
Run.
Fire or water? Use a porta potty or continue to drive or run to a physical bathroom?
Fire.
Go big or go home? That a boy.
Porta potty.
Don, it has been such a pleasure talking to you today, and I hope everybody got just as much as I did out of this one. And again, yeah, it's been great. And again, thank you so much for coming on here, telling your story.
As did I.
Really motivating people and kind of giving them a perspective that maybe a lot of them will never hear about or even see, but at the same time, they can take from your message into their life a great deal. So thanks so much, Don, for coming on today.
Well, thank you, for your service as well, and then for everything that you're doing with your podcast and your book and your motivations and the foundations. I mean, you're an inspiration, and for me and for everybody out there. So I just want to put it back and thank you.
Hey, I appreciate it, Don. And like you said before, remember, it all comes with the support of other people and along the journey, you've been there for me. So this is Fireman Rob. We've had Don Soranno. He was a 26-year veteran from the ATF and continues to do triathlons, even though he's scared of water. That provides a lot of confidence for those who want to do triathlon. So thanks again, Don, and thanks again for listening.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast, and please share this episode with a friend or family. To find out more about Fireman Rob or reach out about a question, go to www.firemanrob.com. Until next time, live your life forged in the fires.